I mean, those elephants aren't contributing to conservation, and they're not contributing to education either. And actually, you know, there is a concern that I've got that some of those elephants may have even been caught from the wild and smuggled over the border from Burma, from Myanmar, and brought into China. So they may be contributing to the big issue, which is wildlife trade, which is the issue that the Prince is focusing on his trip to China.
So bearing all that in mind, is this an embarrassment for the Prince?
It is embarrassing. I mean, Kensington Palace will have done a huge amount of work in the recce a few weeks ago on this trip to see, you know, to check out this place that he was going to be caught short like this. I mean, a fantastic story for Sky News to actually find out about that and break it is really embarrassing for him, for Kensington Palace. He will have wanted to have actually drawn attention to the fact that he's there to talk about the illegal wildlife trade. He gave a speech today on conservation and the illegal wildlife trade, trying to reduce the trade on ivory. Really, really embarrassing for him to go to something to meet elephants and conservation, and then just down the road for elephants being used in a show like that. It's embarrassing for sure.
It is, and it does deflect attention, doesn't it, from what Roy says, what the Prince was there to do, which was to
well, no, that's absolutely right, and I think that's the thing we've got to try and remember in all this. I mean, I've been fighting against elephants in captivity for over 30 years, and so I'm very happy to have that debate at any time with anyone, Ed Miliband here, but I'll do it any time, any place, anywhere, with the Prince if necessary. But we mustn't allow ourselves, in a sense, to be distracted from the real reason that he's there, to talk about the ivory trade. I mean, yesterday Kenya burnt 15 tons of ivory. It says it's going to destroy its entire stockpile. The question is, what will China do? It said it will do this temporary ban on imports, but that's going to have a very limited effect. What we need China to say is that they will close down all ivory trade, new ivory, old ivory, carved, raw, all ivory, and that will send the most powerful signal to the international criminal syndicates that we are not playing ball with them anymore. It's over.
Is it right for Prince William to use his position in this way to try and influence that? And is he doing enough?
Yeah, I think it is right for him to use his position. I mean, conservation has been a major theme in, you know, the things that he wants to tackle and talk about. His speech today was, you know, we've got to be clear, it was soft diplomacy. He's in China on a very highly diplomatic mission. You know, his father has never been to China. There's been a very uneasy relationship, our government with the Chinese for the last 20 years, because of the Dalai Lama and the royal family. William is there to try and build bridges. His speech today didn't go quite probably as far as you wanted it to go. It called for China to try and do more to tackle the illegal wildlife trade in ivory. It called out for the Chinese to work with the British and you know, other countries to try and actually reduce ivory. But what it didn't call for was a unilateral ban. I'm sure that's what you would want to hear. But we've got to remember that William can only go so far. You know, he is there to try and build bridges with the Chinese. He's there to try and sort of boost business, increase diplomatic relations, of which we've had barely none for the last 35 years. So I think actually it went quite far, but I think he's absolutely right. You know, he has set out his stall. Conservation is his thing, and he's gone to China, a country that has a pretty appalling track record on conservation when it comes to ivory and wildlife, and he's made this speech. He's gone to this sanctuary to meet, you know, to see elephants and to be with them. It's slightly embarrassing what's happened, but at least he has shone the spotlight on that cause.
Well, I think that's actually a very good point, and that is that you could flip it round and say, without him going there, that whole issue of those elephants performing would not be on international news around the world. And we are now paying attention to it, and maybe the Chinese will do it as well. You know, Prince William has access that I dream of. And he's using that access in the way that a royal can do, with diplomacy, subtly, to open doors for debates that would not otherwise take place, and we have to applaud him for that.
And ultimately, you know, this is ticket sales to the conservation charity, the sanctuary itself, and the natural habitat for the elephants is being destroyed in that area. So surely, ultimately, there is a positive to this, if you can call it that.
Well, I think it'll, as I say, it'll focus on the downside, performing elephants. It does nothing for anybody, quite honestly, and there's a big education, a re-education program that needs to go on there. But if China's going to really make its mark in terms of elephant conservation, firstly, it has to pay attention to what's going on at home, and then it also has to pay attention to what China is causing through the illegal ivory trade in Africa. We're losing 20,000 to 30,000 elephants a year. It cannot be sustained. They will go under.
It's interesting when you look at some of the social media comments as well that we've had in from our viewers. Now, some have pointed out, you know, we've seen pictures of the princes hunting and some of the exotic animals perhaps that they may have actually killed in the course of this. Does that damage the Prince's credibility when he's campaigning for things like
You've got to be really careful on that. The princes do go hunting, they do go shooting. They are very careful not to shoot or hunt anything that is endangered. They might go wild boar hunting in Spain. Wild boar are not an endangered species. They're very, very canny. That, you know, they have personal lives, they have pastimes, but they are both, William and Harry, are absolutely focused on the fact that the illegal wildlife trade is a really important message for them, and they're determined to crack down on that, and they are determined to use their position as senior members of the royal family. For William to go to China and to talk about the illegal ivory trade is a big deal.
China, I'm afraid,
China will not like that, so he's done well.
OK, we're out of time. We look forward to that debate between the Prince and you in the coming months, but thank you both for the time.
Thank you.